Welcome to the winter solstice edition of Knox Makers. Welcome tonight. We usually start our Tuesday nights with show and share, which you are welcome to sign up on our beautiful sign-up sheet here. And I'm hearing echo. And show off something you're working on, something you've made, something you've completely failed at. We like to see everyone's projects, no matter how big or how small. So first up we have Mark. And I'm going to try and do this on the first try. I failed. What did I do wrong? Is it plugged in?
Just because you have to believe.
Everyone clap your hands if you believe in Santa. No? I don't know what I did wrong.
I'm disappointed in all of you.
Anyone want to help me? All three, take.
All right, no, we did not.
Switching the audio. It's a video you want to switch.
How do people switch that?
I don't know.
All three, take.
There you go.
Thank you, Santa.
All right, now what?
Now I don't know, your display must recognize there's another screen. You could drag it over probably on your desktop.
Control P.
Control P?
I can see your mouse popping up on the display.
Okay. Why is it on print? Oh, Control P, it's trying to print now. That's good.
Oh, Windows P, sorry.
Ta-da!
Oh, that worked. Hey.
All kinds of Christmas miracles.
Okay, oh, yeah, looks like it. All right, so what I'm presenting today is has to do with fixtures for a small manufacturing run I did. So basically a couple years ago, was it a couple years ago? Year and a half ago, they came out with a new direct drive steering wheel for sim people, for racing sims. And they had this little reverse dovetail joint that the wheels used. And I wanted something to hang wheels on, so I created a little wedge. And the initial wedge is kind of a squarish looking thing, and I posted some pictures. And a lot of people had just gotten this new direct drive system, and they didn't have a thing to hang their steering wheels on. So they asked me if I could make some, and I hemmed and hawed for a while, and finally thought, well, maybe I can get this going with some epoxy. So I went through a bunch of iterations with silicone molds, and some of those were rather spectacular failures. Some of them were kind of eh. Initial ones had a lot of little bubbles, so you had like a lot of surface area junk, and I wasn't getting a straight surface on the back. And realized I needed to use a vacuum to suck all the bubbles out. And that got the epoxy pretty good. So now I have some copies of the squarish looking one that I had initially down here. But it was going to be kind of a slow process. It was a little messy, and I wasn't real happy with the results. I'm a little anal about things. I like things to be just right if I'm going to put my name on it. So I decided to make a bunch of tooling to create these things. So first thing I had was a big pile of Delrin. I made it chop up into little pieces, and so I made something that fit onto my what is the heck is the name of that? On the table saw, it's angle something or other. Anyway, I had to create something that would create these things. So I used the initial ones as a template. I ended up creating a whole bunch of these little wedges while I was running through this. And that seemed to work pretty well. And then decided to go on to the next step on here. So So this is a whole bunch of it chopped up. I took that big piece and cut it into 3 strips and then made a pile of wedges. And then used a hand plane to take the sharp edges off the sides of it. And then I'm getting back to this stuff. So I needed to, I was going to do 100 of these things, and I needed to very quickly get through them. So I created a bunch of these toggle clamp devices where I just shoved the wedge in and lock it down. And in this case, there were 2 holes to be drilled, one through and then one part way through. Then it was time for the rudder. Now the square pieces worked, but I figured for a product it should have a beveled curve. I thought it would be a lot prettier looking. So then I created a couple more jigs. And the important thing about the jigs is they kept my fingers way away from the cutting surface on the router. So first you take a fresh wedge, shove it through, clamp it down, and it would pivot on there's an 1/8" metal piece that came through, and run it through. So I had to do 2 passes on these. So second pass would come through and put a pretty bevel on it. And then, after getting all these things through, I ended up with something that was functional but not very pretty. So I ended up with a bunch of these wedges, and they had machining marks all over them, table saw marks from the wedges, and got some adhesive back sandpaper and put it down on a piece of glass and just wet sanded them all until I got rid of all that crud. And then polished them up, and they started to look a little bit pretty, and shipped them out. It was one of those things I did on a lark. It's not like I have any idea that I want to do a lot of production work. It's labor intensive, repetitive, and it's not something I enjoy doing, but I enjoyed creating the tooling and figuring out how to make it all go. And I sent some of these out, and they came out pretty nicely. I thought they were pretty, and I sent them out all over the place. And yeah, still a few left over, but they did pretty well. But anyway, this is just a fun little project. Like I said, started out with the epoxy that didn't work well after deciding I was going to do it. And once I decided I was going to do it, I just kept going until I had a solution that worked. So that was that little project. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's all I got for that. So,
There's definitely a lot of different thought that goes into making one of something and making 100 of something.
Yeah.
I do like a good jig, though.
Well, the first one that I made took me what? I don't know. I think I probably futzed around with them for about 3 or 4 hours. And it's like, if I'm going to try to make 100 of these, like, I'm not spending 300 or 400
Right,
hours.
right.
So, anyway.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sabil, and he has Santa and gargoyles.
A sealed or Belgian? Yeah, 3/4 inch Belgian.
Yeah. Where is the?
I recognize that free SVG.
Yeah. Yeah. This is fairly simple. It's just me finding wanting to give something for my friends before they left for Chicago. And so I came to the makerspace on Sunday to try and get these things done. So it's just a little diamond-shaped piece of plywood with Santa etched on it. Unfortunately, they left before I could actually give it to them. So, anyway. So that was that. It was pretty cool. It's not like anything huge. However, where is the gargoyle? What else? This is Greg the gargoyle. Greg the Gargoyle isn't mine, he's my neighbor's, but I have been doing a thing where I leave accessories on Greg the Gargoyle. So I left the straw hat, and then I added the Santa hat afterwards. And I left them a note saying, thank you for putting up with my shenanigans. And I left them one of these as well, just as a thank you gift. And they left me a note saying, we love it, please keep doing it. So what I heard was, like, I just got permission to do more shenanigans. So there will be more updates with Greg the Gargoyle in the forthcoming months. Anyway, thanks.
Very festive. Next up, Jay with the blade profile.
So this is actually my first attempt really working something with metal and in the blacksmith shop. So I decided I wanted to try out some skills that I'd seen other people do and other YouTube videos, and just kind of work my way in and kind of try by fire, learn by default, and pray I don't lose an arm or a finger or a leg, or my boss is worried about me losing everything from the shoulder down for some reason, but he thinks I'm accident prone. But basically what this came out as is just your basic rough profile of a blade. It's roughly profiled as a sax. And yeah, a lot of this is just hammer marks that I probably got a little too zealous when I was swinging the hammer. So I could grind it down more, but it would make it very, very thin. But like I said, this is just a trial and error piece. It's first time attempting and learning and looking at frustrations and just enjoying it. So it's actually about 10 or 20 times more fun than I thought it would be for the first time I swung a hammer. So
That's an impressive fun level.
that's it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ori with more Christmas stuff. Yay.
I was hoping I'd show off Deacon, my son that's 2 months old now, but he had other plans. Got a little hungry. So this is actually one of the first things I really did in, like after I got my 3D printer about a year and a half ago and started playing around with 3D software. I did this bow right before Christmas last year. So this was like a lot of trial and error in learning how to use, I use Fusion 360, I started with it. So it was just a lot of like the process of figuring out like what the relationship between like, you know, the different parts of the bow would be and like how that would translate to what my printer could actually physically do, what the capabilities were, and then learning, you know, about the temperatures and overhangs and stuff. So this was like a big lesson for me in not only the design of it, but the functionality of working with it with the printer. And so it was a lot of fun. I made a bunch of these and we've used them year over year, or all the last year and this year again, like actually pulled these off of presents that were under the tree already. So, but yeah, that was a cool thing that I actually designed. This thing I did not design, but it is so cool. It's just a little fidget thing, print in place, and it's curved.
Oh, wow.
So after you print it, you lift it off the bed, and these almost immediately start like, you know, come loose from each other, and it articulates in lots of different directions, spins, and goes out and in. And I think the little calculator inside of Prusa Slicer told me it was like $1.40 something worth of filament. And this was gonna replace a bunch of the, probably like, you know, $5 or $10 gifts we were gonna get the family kids at the, you know, all the people you buy the $5 or $10 gift for, like, you know, I think, you know, $1 worth of filament. And they're hopefully gonna enjoy them, I think. I really like playing with it. But those are my little Christmas things from the 3D printer.
Those bows print without support inside?
Nah, there's nothing inside these. Like, 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 yeah, they actually, you can see, like, I think on this one, yeah, the bottom of this one, like, you can see in the top, like, I didn't get, it was either a little too hot or maybe moving too fast, but it drooped a little bit underneath. But overall, I was pretty satisfied with how they came
Can
out.
I see that too?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, that I just grabbed off the Thingiverse, so it's a pretty popular
It
model.
looks like this lizard. You know that lizard that's got this eyes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Does
yeah.
it look it?
I also really like that multicolored filament, the chain.
Yeah, it really looks neat. It looks like you spent $5 or $10 on it.
Right.
Last on our list tonight, we have James, who's showing off some wiring stuff and then also talking about an upcoming event tonight.
All right. So we've been circuit bending toys lately. So we've been taking musical instruments and little kids' toys and taking them apart and fiddling around with them and making them sound ways that they're not supposed to. And that's one of the most exciting things to me. I really like this stuff. I brought this before, this resistance substitution box. So what this does is we can find a specific resistance, like if we're coming off of the battery pack, where we can potentially insert a resistor or a potentiometer and make it sound funny just because it's there. So I used this, and I actually got something to work finally with it. Found a range. It actually had a few different points where it made the music sound different. I just put a resistor in, so next I'm going to try a potentiometer and see if I can make it change with the knob. But this is the project I wanted to show. It's right here. It's just a little keyboard. This is actually the method that I've got the most experience with, and almost all the experience I have is just this with circuit bending. It's called direct wiring. So you take it apart and you jam wires together between leads that are not supposed to be there and see if it makes the sound do anything. It's not very intelligent. It can be, but in my instance, it's not. I just jam stuff and it makes it sound weird. And it worked on this, and now what I'm wanting to do, since I found something, I'd like to figure out why it's doing that, but I also want to take this and see if I can put a knob in between that and change the effect. So that's my next step. This is what it sounds like. So it's got some, that's one of the, it was just working. That's one of the problems with the circuit bending stuff.
It'll work fine if you sit back down.
Yeah. To troubleshoot, I would take the batteries out and put them back in, but that actually works with circuit bending a lot because you're sending power places it's not supposed to be. So on and off doesn't work. You can take the batteries out, put them back in, see if that resets it, and don't do that thing you were doing. So I might have to even take this apart and rewire it if it's doing this. But once I figured that out, I got an effects pedal. I'd like to wire in an audio jack to it and loop it out to an effects pedal, and then this one's got flanger, chorus, phaser, delay, tremolo, and pitch shifter, so there's all kinds of weird stuff I can do with this. And then we've got a lot, Tim's got one. This is the coolest.
Yeah, so I'll step in front of the mic here. So this was a something hanging out. That's not going to really work. Probably this is better. Something that was hanging out in my toy bin, and when James started talking about circuit bending, I brought this one along, opened it up to see what it is. Playing around, poking around, I found out I had a couple of resistor arrays up here that changed the pitch of playback. So it started off with something that was just an electric guitar sound. So play that. So what I did is found out these resistors actually made this go faster than what it's playing right now. So I cut those old resistors out, found new resistors that would slow it so far down to be unrecognizable. And now it's something interesting that we can play with. Or we can even just and then the other thing is it played really slowly. This recording goes on for a very long time, so I added a little normally closed switch here that I can always use as a kind of a kill, right? So I can kill the recording as I need to. So there it is. Did you say anything about the parade tonight?
No, not yet.
Oh, why don't you come tell them about the parade?
It's here for Tim, though. I actually want to try one more thing. No, I just turned the volume. So this is all part of the circuit bending work is leading up to something that I'm doing with Make Music Knox. It's part of Make Music Alliance. They have different places all around the world. They got a chapter in Knoxville. They just go out and make music. They get people, they're really big on participatory and free. They don't want just musicians coming out. They want, anybody coming out, anybody can be a musician, especially with these instruments. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are at music, it's just gonna sound weird, and that's what we want tonight. So has anybody been part of a flash mob before? Raise your hand. All right. If you've got interest in being in a flash mob, that's what we're doing at Gay Street Church and Gay Street at the Rowing Men statue. We're going to take these music instruments, pass them out to people at 8 o'clock, march down Gay Street around Market Square, and then you take the instruments home for free. So that's what we're about to do.
And that's tonight.
That's tonight. And then
Like in half an hour.
in 30 minutes. And then we're coming back here afterwards, whoever wants to finish out open hack night.
Thank you, James. If you want more instructions about that, I'm sure you can catch James after this, and he will give you more details if you need them. That was our last share tonight. Sean has a share? Fine. I'll allow it.
This is a good one. This is for everybody. I made cookies. They are.
Wait, did you 3D print them?
In that I use my special extruder known as my hands and my mixing machine to then print them into the shape. No, these are ancho mole cookies, and so they are made with chocolate and ancho chili peppers, and they are really good. They have a lot of dried fruit in them and walnuts, so if you have a nut allergy, maybe steer clear, and some sesame. But they are really good, and they're going to be on the hospitality table. And if you really want to know how to make cookies, I guess I could tell you about that. But these were, and they're good. They're different. So they will be available for all.
Are they spicy?
A little bit, yeah. They have like a.
You said the pepper, so I assumed it was spicy.
Yeah, basically you make a paste out of ancho chili powder and agave, and you mix that together, and then you don't add much sugar to that on the end. So they're different and they're very good, but they are sweet and spicy. So if you are interested, I have them.
Thank you.
I guess that was worth letting you show. Does anyone else have any? Yes. All right.
Let me get this. Oh, I got the photo out. So at my work, we have a 2D laser cutter that will cut steel and aluminum. I primarily cut 1/4-inch plate, and we had an application where we needed to crush a part, and I decided to make a jig to be able to do that. So where's the zoom button?
It's the plus and minus.
There we go. So I was initially going to do 1/4-inch plate and then put just like a steel block the size of the part. but that would have taken machining time, it would have been expensive. And I was talking to another engineer, and he said that I could basically do the same thing that woodworkers do when they build a torsion box, which is you take the plywood, you turn it up like this, and you put it in a crisscross pattern, and it's very, very stiff because you're basically trying to bend the plywood this way instead of this way. So that's what I did. I cut out 1/4-inch steel and put it in a grid shape, and each of these is about 2 inches long, and it is incredibly stiff. It has no flex to it. And then I just did some shoulder bolts with some springs so that the press head will come down to flatten the part, and then when it releases, the springs will send it right back up. So that's it.
Very neat. Anyone else? James, you got the thing to play?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm definitely doing something wrong here because this is eating 3 AA batteries way quicker than it should. So it's just kind of got a distortion to it. Let's see here. Yeah, that's my favorite. It's like 8-bit. Okay, well, the cool thing that I found out after I did this, toying around with it, is if you turn the volume all the way down. Oh, that's the tempo. You turn the volume all the way down, it gets weird. There we go, so, yeah.
If anyone needs a really good gift, use your suggestion. A good gift for your brother or sister's child. This is where you go. Right. So tonight's open hack, we have one class on the calendar. As you can imagine, the schedule is pretty clean right now. But on the 30th at 7 p.m., which is a Thursday, is Woodworking 101, which is the class you need to be authorized to use the whole woodworking shop. So sign up for that. Those classes go super fast. If there's tickets left, there might not be in 5 minutes. So that's all I've got for you tonight. Have fun, make things, go to a parade, make music, and have a wonderful holiday.